Hey everyone, welcome back to the At the Coffee Table podcast. I'm your host, Jason Clank, and this is episode 80, which floors me because I can't believe I've done 80 of these. And I say that every time I hit like a 10, but it still floors me. Anyways, today I am joined by Matt Blanchard, and Matt I heard on the Real Business Owners podcast, and his story is just amazing, and I was kind of awestruck. And if you think you are handling difficult things in your life, you have to hear this story. So Matt, thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on the podcast with me.
My pleasure, Jason. Thanks for having me on, and congratulations on your 80th episode.
80. Yeah, it's funny. I started this in the middle of the pandemic, and that was probably the only reason I started, because I had a lot of extra time. And I started the podcast thinking, well, we'll give it a few episodes and see what happens. And, here we are, 80. And come to mention, in the early, like within, 10 or 15 episodes, I had Trevor on.
Yeah.
It was such a great conversation, and like made my year because I got Trevor on the show. So
yeah. He's a big deal, man. Even down here in St. George, he's self-made, gone from. I didn't know that he and I shared the addiction together, and that he battled addiction and has overcome and continues to battle. But yeah, Trevor's a badass. I love him.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to hear you guys, because you already had the relationship with Cal.
Yeah.
And then to listen to you and Trevor kind of click on that podcast episode was really cool.
Dude, it's weird how, some people you just like, wow, where have you been?
Yeah.
We finally connect, and then others it's just a grind. But yeah, Trevor's a stud. Kale, I've known our boys forever. So good people, man. Good people.
Awesome. So Matt is located in St. George, Utah, and I guess we'll go back in time. We'll get in the time capsule and go back in time and talk about how, as a young man, I believe you were in your 20s. You things were going well. You had your own electrician's business. You were making money. You were having some successes. You had a big crew of people working for you.
Yeah, 26 employees and a division at the north part of the state, and then another division down at the southern end of the state. And boy, the joke was with my brothers that if I dropped my toast, it would always land butter side up. So nice. They still joke about it today, but I think you have a lot of influence on which way that toast lands. So.
Absolutely. Now, you were talking about how it was just, there really wasn't much thought into anything other than the successes you were having, and then you have one incident that kind of changes all that around. Why don't you just kind of describe how that all transpired?
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up, to get to the point where I would start making decisions based on my past, I would like going back and going cliff jumping. I was the guy that would cliff jump first and hope that the water was deep enough, or doing handstands, or not handstands, but standing up on my Harley going down the highway. And every time I cheated death, it almost gave me this false sense of invincibility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so throughout my life, I got away with a lot. I did. I probably should have ended up in a wheelchair a lot sooner than I did, but cheated death quite a few times. And it's been a good thing. Though. It's been a blessing. It really, I can say that now, but
yeah. And a lot of people may be looking at you and sitting in a wheelchair and listening to you say it's a blessing and go, what are you, crazy?
Dude, best thing that's ever happened. Dude, I get front row parking everywhere I go, man. Best thing that's ever happened to me. No lines at Disneyland. It's all worth it.
Yep, just roll right up.
That's right.
That's phenomenal. And it's interesting when you hear people that they've had challenges and then they had some successes, and it kind of goes back and forth. Like one of the stories when you had said that, I was thinking of, and not that it has to do with your situation, but Alex Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Went from playing Major League Baseball, was at the height of his career, gets caught up in his scandal. His whole career collapses. He gets suspended. And I watched an interview with him where he said, getting suspended was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow.
Because it forced me to get my shit together.
Dude. and how often are we forced into something
Right.
to get our shit together? And thank God I was, because I really, to be honest, I was on a very destructive path. I was making way too much money, and it was
Right.
way too easy back then. In oh, what, 05, 06,
Mm-hmm.
being an electrical contractor, things were just booming here
Yeah.
in Utah. And so driving back and forth from each end of the state, I'll tell you what, I got hung up in the snow, and
Mm-hmm.
one of my employees was with me. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh.
So hurry across town, pick up one of my employees, a punk kid, 19 years old, and we're heading up to the hospital to do a fire alarm job. And so he jumps in my brand new Dodge truck, and I remember him shaking the rain off of himself. And now I think I had 34 miles on the truck, something like that.
Oh,
And now
jeez.
watermarks all over the dash and stereo. And I remember looking over and pissed and like, bro, don't do that. And he's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
Matt, put your seatbelt on. Just like that. Points at me. Put your seatbelt on. And I'm not the kind of guy that likes being told what to do. I don't know, Jason. I
Right.
don't know about you, but so I'm like, Brett, listen, don't tell me what to do. And we jumped on the freeway heading up, and rain turned to snow. Because
Mm-hmm.
down in southern Utah, it's so warm down here. We get snow once every 5 or 6 years, maybe.
Okay.
And right then, he turns to me for a second time. He clicks his seatbelt
Yep.
and says, Matt, put your seatbelt on. And we actually get in an argument. And I'm like, look, Brett, I'm 30 years old. You're 19. I'm your boss. I just run the St. George Marathon, 6'2", 215 pounds. Like, what
Mm-hmm.
could hurt me, right? I remember thinking this.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, don't tell me what to do. So further up the canyon we go, and I'm following a semi truck, and I'm just focused on his taillights.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm having a conversation, an internal dialogue where, yo, Matt, put your seatbelt on. And the other guy, but if you do, Brett wins. Like,
Right.
how bad is that, right? Brett
Right.
wins. Like, there's a win-lose in this. But
Yep.
at the it got so bad, whiteout conditions, couldn't see where I-15 started or ended. And this semi truck gets off of I-15. And right then, Brett turned to me for the third time. And he's like, Matt, please put your belt on. And for the third time, I said no. So I crossed through that semi truck's tracks, and now I can't make out where the highway starts or ends. And I lose control of the back of my truck,
Mm-hmm.
and start fishtailing. And I get completely sideways, and my truck goes down in between the median between north and southbound traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as it did that, the front tires caught that wet, fresh dirt.
Yep.
And it's so true. Everything slows down.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, holy shit, we're gonna roll. And sure enough, man, we didn't roll. We got launched. We did. We got launched into the air. So yeah, the truck came down on the driver's side cab, ripped my hands from the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's throwing me throughout the cab everywhere. And in all, we rolled 3 1/4 times. And when the truck stopped rolling, it was I was dark. I was confused. And what had happened is my back had gone into the steering wheel, and it had snapped myself right into, and my hips were covering my face. So picture me laying on the passenger door now, and Brett's buckled in right here. And I remember reaching up over my head and grabbing my knees and pulling me back to the floorboards. Now I'm sitting on Brett's lap, and I knew immediately. I was just like, Brett, I'm paralyzed, man. I'm paralyzed. So,
and going back to what you said with like the snow conditions, like where I am in central New York, we got the big lake north of us. There's just pounds us all winter with snow. And I can remember many a times driving up the highway behind a tractor trailer and just praying that they didn't go off the road because you couldn't see the road.
right.
So, so I can sympathize with kind of what the conditions were. But it's amazing how, Brett's telling you 3 different times, man, and it's almost like the universe was talking to you, dude, something bad's going to happen. You need to buckle up.
Right. And just protect yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I spent 25 years in the fire service, and I've been to
service, bro.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I've been to all kinds of crashes, all kinds of things, people putting their cars underneath tractor trailers in the back of the tractor trailers right here, rolling them this way, end over end, getting crushed by tractor trailers, and never once were any of those scenes all that easy. And I can only imagine, or maybe I can't, but I'll try to imagine just the fact that you had to pull the bottom of half of you unsandwiched just so you
Yeah,
could get your legs out of your face.
bro, brutal. And to know immediately that you're paralyzed, like,
Yeah,
because my phone was vibrating in my pocket,
yeah,
and I could hear the vibration, but I
right.
couldn't feel it vibrating. And um, yeah, it took emergency crews a little over 2 hours to drive 22 miles to get to Brett and I, and use the jaws of life, cut us out of the truck,
Oh,
and life flight me up to Salt Lake. 'Cause back then down here in St. George, we weren't a trauma one, so we couldn't. It's like
right.
life flight me to Salt Lake,
Yep.
and we're right near Vegas too, so I had my choice. But grew up in Salt Lake, so hey, let's go up there.
Yeah.
And
And you're conscious the whole time.
the whole time,
God.
no pain though, no pain, zero. Laying on that door is weird. The highway patrolman watched the whole thing happen,
Yeah.
and so he was over to us immediately, and
Yeah.
he climbed up on the top of the truck. Now he's on the driver's door and hands a seat collar into Brett, and
Yep.
Brett puts a seat collar on me, and I tell him, look, I can't feel my legs. And so, look, we're going to take you out the windshield. We're going to get you guys out of this truck.
Yeah.
So he pops out the windshield, and now the cold air and the snow is all coming in, and we're freezing. I remember being so damn cold.
Oh.
And I was on such an odd angle, like, to get up and out the windshield. If I had suffered a spinal cord injury, it was going to do more damage. So
Sure.
he put blankets on us, and we waited for them to be able to come down and cut us out of that truck.
Oh. So they get you out of the truck. They get you in a helicopter. You're not feeling anything besides the cold.
Right.
It floors me. So you get to the hospital, and I think this is part of the story where you really kind of realized the
Yeah.
severity of what had happened.
My dad was there, and they laid me on this stainless steel table.
Uh-huh.
And my dad's, the way he tells it is, he came over, I'm laying there on this slab of metal, and he touched and it was so cold. And then he grabbed onto my leg. He wanted to put blankets over me, and my legs were about the same temperature as the table. And I had no idea, none whatsoever.
Oh,
and I remember thinking, hey, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, we're good. I was the athlete in the family. Well, still am. Dude, I do everything from a wheelchair. Yeah, you tell my brothers too. I will kick their butts. But I just thought, you know what? This is just a bump in the road. We're gonna be good.
Yeah.
And come to find out, it wasn't going to be all good.
It'd be a little more permanent than you thought.
Yeah, a whole lot more permanent. It's interesting you say that too. I still have let's see, it's been 16 years, and I still have the blue handicap lanyard that hangs on the rear view, because a license plate is too permanent, bro. It's just, isn't that kind of weird to wrap your head around?
Yeah.
If I accept that to get a license plate that has the handicap thing on it, that's just too permanent, because this is still in my mind a temporary thing.
That's amazing. So, you're laying there. The doctors, I'm assuming, are in and out. Nurses are in and out. They're doing all they're using you as a human pincushion, and
dude. So I'm laying there in ICU, and everyone had finally left, and I remember just wanting to sit up. All I wanted to do was sit up, and so I looked at my right hand, and I had, the electrodes and tubes and wire, everything coming out of my right arm, kind of like I do today. Holy cow! But but my left arm, everything's good, everything's straight. So I reached down to grab my quad to help pull myself up, and I couldn't feel the touch of my own hand. And that's the first time right there, I started crying, and I was like, wow, I can't feel my own hand. And I remember thinking, if I'm going to be paralyzed, I got to figure out a way out of this. I got to figure out a way to end my life, because there's no way I'm going through this life not running marathons and not, doing all the things that I thought identified me as a husband, a father, a man.
Right.
Think about that. gentlemen, whoever's listening, have
Yeah.
everything taken from your waist down at 30 years old. And, you know, I was very chauvinistic. I brought in the money. Mama did the laundry and the cooking and the rearing
Yeah.
the children. And I did the yard work and the vehicles.
Yeah.
And now that way of thinking was not going to work anymore.
No,
Yeah.
so, wow. Because, and realistically, it all goes back to just a split
Dude,
second
a
decision, split
decision
second
without putting
situation.
the damn seatbelt on, like
Yeah.
really just click right there. And how often, boy, if you're driving around without your seatbelt on, I'll tell you right here, you know, this doesn't paralysis could never happen to somebody like me. I was just too big. I was just
Yeah.
too large, you know.
Yeah.
And there it was staring me right in the face. So
It reminds me of, my old man. I can remember back, and I probably was 10 years old, maybe less. And they enacted the seatbelt law in New York State. And I can remember my old man, who was a motorhead from way back, Grease Monkey,
yep.
and that no derogatory remark there, just what they were called. And yeah, I can remember him saying, "I'm never wearing no seatbelt because if the car gets in a bad enough crash, I need to be able to get out." And he spent almost 40 years in the fire service,
Bro.
and he wasn't, but over time it became an accepted practice, and more data and more realization of how it saved lives and so on. So it's and it kind of goes back to, it was almost an ego thing for you because you didn't want to get beat by the guy in the truck, your partner in the truck.
Bro, I'm in a wheelchair today because of pride and
Yeah.
ego. Those two things right there is why I'm in a wheelchair today.
So you're laying in the hospital bed. You can't sit up. You can't move. Your life seems to be ending around you. You want it to end because you don't want to deal with life as,
Dude,
somebody that's paralyzed.
right. Right. No matter how good the parking is, you know, you don't want to do that. So
Right.
I remember thinking, okay, this is temporary. This is a temporary thing. I just got to grind. And if there's anybody else that suffered a spinal cord injury listening, this will probably resonate. Is tomorrow it'll be better. Tomorrow they're going to give me the magic pill. They're going to figure it out, and everything's going to go back to normal. And that never came, man. The reason why I couldn't sit up in ICU is I didn't know how to anymore. So I snapped myself right about here, about 4 inches above my belly button.
Yeah.
And instead of snapping like a pencil, I suffered a T12 compression burst. So my back, it compressed my vertebrae, and it just grenaded in my back, and a piece of the bone went into my spinal cord, and
that was it.
That was it, man.
Did it do any other internal injuries?
No, that's the crazy thing.
Wow.
We had our coffee spilled on us, and that was it. Other than, me flying throughout the cab with all our tools and everything. Brett had coffee on him, and he was fine. And I ended up paralyzed.
It reminds me, I heard the story, and I'm not going to get it right by any means because it was quite a while ago, but I was listening to Ed Milet's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a professional horse rider, I guess.
Yeah,
Equestrian, yeah. And she fell off a horse and broke her neck, I believe, and was laying in the same thing, laying in the bed, couldn't move, didn't know what to do, feeling sorry for herself, didn't want to go on. And it was slowly over time, she realized that now it was a challenge just to get up. And then it would be a challenge to walk down. That was her challenge, to walk down the hallway of the hospital so she could go home, because she just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
But they said, you can't go home until you walk down the hallway. She's like, all right, I'm walking down the damn hallway.
Bro, wow. And she did it, huh?
She did. She ended up recovering. She's, she was on eggshell, walking on both legs, and had all her extremities. And it was just that was another amazing story to listen to. How I'm pretty sure, and I'm probably messing it up, but because I can't even remember her name now. But she just went from riding horses and being an equestrian to, I believe, breaking her neck. And that was her challenge, that if she wanted to go home from that hospital, she had to walk down the hallway.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I was at a little different. So so that's what you're describing is an incomplete injury, where
Yeah,
mine's a complete injury.
complete, right?
Um, I didn't want to go home until I was walking.
Okay.
I begged and pleaded and
Yep.
hey, I'm not walking yet. You guys haven't done your jobs. I'm not healed yet. Why are you sending me home?
Yeah.
This is it's feeling a little more permanent at this point.
Right.
So yeah, I get discharged from LDS hospital. Oh boy, wow, and it gets sent back home.
Yeah.
And now comes the time where you destroy your marriage. Because
Mm,
Mama didn't sign up for this. Mama signed up for the 6'2", 215 guy.
right.
And so I'll be hell bent if she's going to have to settle for this cripple. You know.
Yep. Yep.
So I said every mean thing. Oh, anything and everything to get her to leave me, and she never did. And now this is my high school sweetheart. We've been
Really?
married. We just celebrated our 27th year together.
Congratulations.
Thank you, March 10th. And
That's fantastic.
bro, I'll tell you what, she's the rod of iron in this whole story.
Oh, I bet.
But I remember telling, she's crying, and I'm trying to get her to leave me, and she said, I didn't marry your legs. I don't care. I love you.
Yeah.
And yeah, here we are. Let's see, man, we only married 7 years when I got hurt, and now so 20.
20
No,
years.
I guess let's see. Anyway, 9 years. But
Yeah.
we've been married longer in a chair, and I'll tell you what a good time. What a good time.
That's one hell of a person,
Oh,
to go, you know what? It's still you. You may have had this traumatic accident, but it's still you, and I'm here for you.
right.
Did she ever have one of those moments that she just looked at you and told you, get your
Oh,
shit together and
bro.
knock it off?
Oh, bro. Yeah, we don't get to complain a whole lot around here. I just came in a little earlier from doing some yard work and with my sons. I still mow lawn, do things. Anyway, Mama Bear, you don't get in the way of Mama Bear because she'll tell you where things go. But she told me she's going to stay with me. She didn't marry my legs, and I found doctors and therapists that thought maybe, with the right attitude and the right effort, maybe Matt will walk again. And we went to work. I went over to China and did the stem cell thing.
That's right.
And received like 30, no, what was it? 70 million umbilical cord stem cells right into my site where I was hurt. That almost killed me. And they've come a long way with stem cells since. But, when something as precious as walking, your legs and everything that goes with that is taken from you, you'd give anything, like literally damn near anything to get that back.
Yeah.
And I took it right to the edge, man. I did. I took it right to the edge. So yeah, traveled a little while trying to regain the ability to walk. Not for me, but I mean, not for my wife or my kids, because come to find out, I was the dad that would fly in on vacations and then fly back out because I was always chasing money and missing ball games or piano recitals or whatever else because money was more important because that was my job. And I tell you what, since then I have not missed a ball game. I have not missed a piano recital. You really get dialed into what's really important in life and what's not. And you get dialed into embracing the grind, embracing how hard life really is and how hard life really is for all of us.
Yeah.
But if we were on top all day, every day, boy, wouldn't that get boring? If I went out to shoot golf and I knew I was going to par every hole, how boring, man. Like you take the 90s Bulls, dude, those guys grinded. Can you imagine being in some of those practices? And then winning a championship. I mean, that's what makes it all the sacrifice. That's what makes everything worth it. And so you got to really lean into and embrace the grind. If you're not enjoying the grind, then how in the hell are you going to enjoy it when you're on top of the world?
Yeah, for sure. Because I think that you can float and have some successes and just kind of go with it. And without that motivation, I kind of go into the next level, that next step, that next success or victory. I truly believe as human beings, we're all competitive.
Oh yes.
And if it's with ourselves or with other people or, whatever. So if you're not competing with yourself to get better, to do something better, to be, whatever, it's really kind of empty. And I've been talking like that for a number of years because, I, like everybody else, you go through a hard time, you go through a dark period, a winter season, so to say. And it's coming out of that when you get those moments of, yep, that's why. And this, when did you have the moment of acceptance though, of you were going to be like this for forever, really?
To be quite honest, it wasn't until maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, where I finally was okay with being in a wheelchair. And I'm okay with spending the rest of my life in a wheelchair. And here's one thing that I would encourage anyone and everyone listening: love yourself. I
Yeah.
love being Matt Blanchard. I do.
Yes.
I love it, bro. Like anywhere I go, I get have everybody looking at me, or I'm looking at everybody, and I give them a smile, and then the whole world smiles back at me. Like, it is not a complex equation. Make eye contact and smile. See what happens.
Yep.
See what happens.
Yeah, it's man, it's all mindset, isn't it? It's all absolute mindset. And when like I was talking about my dark period, my winter season, I was the most miserable person you ever walked across in your entire life. If you asked me how I was doing, it was terrible. Everything's terrible. And then the light bulb started going on. I had some great positive life changes. And now if you walk by me down the sidewalk and ask me how I'm doing, fantastic. Every day's Just the other day, somebody asked me, how you doing? I go, fantastic. Oh, really? You having that great of a day? Every day's fantastic.
Damn right. Damn right.
Yep. Yeah. It's that whole, dude, you're an absolute inspiration. I swear to God.
Dude, well, thanks. It's crazy. I became an addict through this whole thing. Never touched a drug in my life until I got in an accident, got addicted to opiates.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. This is part of the story where,
bro,
because and not to knock the medical profession, but you have pain or you might have pain, so we'll give you painkillers.
Amen. Amen, man. And I'll tell you what, I've got my physician that I've been with since day one, as well. His name's Dr. Stephen Clark. Love that man. And he's learned a lot through his practice, what we've gone through, and he's changed his practice. Mm-hmm. And the same with me. There's a time and a place for pain medication.
Sure.
In my opinion, you shouldn't leave the hospital with pain medication. If you go through a major surgery or something, this, that, and the other, great. Yeah. But I mean, my pops had his kidney out, and he's a Marine. He didn't take a pain med.
No, I'm for sure he didn't.
Right? Yeah. And it's a mindset that even pain, how can you appreciate pain-free if you don't lean into the pain, if you're always running from pain?
Yes.
So like your winter season, bro, like if it was just taken from you and all now it's sunshine and rainbows, sunshine and rainbows gets pretty old.
Sure.
And it's so sunshine and rainbows are so stimulating a lot of the times. It's probably going to wear us out. Yeah. We need downtime. We need the grind. We need challenges. And anybody that doesn't have them, and we all have them. Sure. But anybody running from your challenge, don't run from it. Learn from it.
Yes. Don't run from it. Learn from it. 100%. Now, here's the part where it gets interesting because, and maybe I'm missing some parts of your story, but the man here sitting in this wheelchair not only gets into one hellacious crash and bends himself in half and becomes paralyzed, he gets in a second one a number of years. How many years were in between the crashes?
Let's see, 15 years. 15 years of grinding. Jace.
Trying.
Jace, all I want to do is walk. All I want to do is walk. Right. One little girl. One. And what do dads do, Jace, when their little girls grow up?
Oh yeah, they gotta. What'd you say? You said you You wanted to be able to walk your daughter down the aisle.
Damn right. Yep.
Yes.
And so that's what we did, man. And she would come to therapies, and we'd practice walking down these stairs, and we'd practice walking, and I'd trip her up. Anyway, we got to where we're dialed in, man. Dad's going to be able to roll over these stairs, and she's going to help lift me up to a stand, and we're going to come down the stairs, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And that was, she got married September 25th of 2021. Well, 7 months earlier. I'm cruising down I-15, 80 miles an hour, 9:30 at night, and out of nowhere, something hits me, and I didn't see, and truck starts on fire. It shoves me down. I'm trapped in the truck. I break my back again, paralyzed again. So all that forearm gone, just like that. 15 years, man. 15 years of the grind. And sitting there in that truck, my truck starts on fire. I'm trapped in the truck. The truck's on fire. And I'm thinking, oh my hell, I'm going to burn to death. I can't burn to death. And so what happened is a lady, she's coming back from Vegas, and she was intoxicated. She jumped the median and cracked me at 120 miles an hour. Yeah. So 200 mile an hour impacted all in all. And she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. I was this time. She didn't end up making it, unfortunately. And I ended up losing everything. And there was a passerby that had a freaking fire extinguisher in their truck. Puts the fire out on my truck and just stayed with me. I think it took a little over 2 hours again to cut me out, because the lady that had hit me, they were working on her and trying to get her cut out of her vehicle, because it didn't kill her instantly. And so anyway, when they finally cut her out of the car, she'd passed away. But if you can picture it, you've got two semi trucks, 9:30 at night, headlights shining down I-15, and then you've got my truck on the slow lane shoulder, her car on the fast lane shoulder, and then Lifeline parked right in the middle of I-15, rotors shut down while they're cutting us out of our cars. So again, for the second time in my life, are you kidding me?
And I said this to you on the phone when we first talked. I've been in the fire service 25 years. I've been to some hellacious crashes. Never once was the same victim in two different crashes, ever once. And the fact that did you, when it was all said and done, did you think, oh man, if I didn't have bad luck, I'd have no luck at all?
Dude, you know how many times I've said that? That's why I don't gamble. I do not gamble, period. Because if there wasn't bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all. But I didn't know this at the time, but during the second accident, so I broke my back again. The first break was a T12 compression burst. Mm-hmm. This break was an L4 compression burst. And then I broke both hips, and then my shin, my tib and fib on my left leg, that compound fractured and come out. I remember they're starting to cut me out of my truck.
Yep.
And I say, hey, I'm paralyzed. And everybody just stopped what they're doing. And I'm like, no, I'm looking for my wheelchair. I was paralyzed before this. And even right then, these guys are just, are you kidding me? And they start bringing me pieces of my wheelchair here and everywhere. And anyway, we kind of joked around and laughed about it. Dude, here's the crazy thing. So they cut me out of the truck. I was on the phone with my friend when the whole accident happened. He called my wife, said, hey, Matt's been in another accident. Don't know what happened. He was on the phone with him. And my wife starts coming down the canyon to where the accident happened. They cut me out of the car, get me on the gurney. They're loading me into the helicopter, and she's about 40 yards away. She comes down the shoulder. They stop her. Hey, that's my husband. She gets literally to where the front of those semi trucks are, and they're loading me into the helicopter. Mm-hmm. And she almost got to me before she sees this helicopter lift off with her husband in it, going back to the hospital. And so it's, again, for as much as I've been through, the mental, I mean, wow. So she turned back around and went to the hospital, and there we were again. Going through more surgeries again.
First time around, you break your middle back. The second time around, you break your lower back.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
amazing.
but I'm a bit Ed Milet, right? We talked about a little bit about
Mhm.
him. He's life happens for you, not to you. And
Yes.
I believe life happens to victims. Like I didn't have any control of that. It's just da 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 da
Hmm.
bullshit. I think life happens for victors,
Hmm.
and things things happen for you, and
Yep.
it's up to you how you're going to attack that. Whether you're the victim or whether you're like, okay, what's my lesson to learn?
Right.
Let's go. Whether it's a divorce, okay, am I going to be as the same jackass again to my next wife and
Yes.
expect a different result,
Yep.
or am I going to learn from that and not be,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything with that, I think it's really important. Accountability is huge, huge, huge. Don't make excuses.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, just take
So,
your problems and hit them on head first.
so just to go back to the so you end up back in the hospital. You're broken again.
Mhm.
What's the thought process now? Is it I'm going to overcome this too, or is it this whole thing just wiped out 15 years of hard work?
Okay, so um, I was busted up so badly I didn't know how badly,
Mm,
like because I wasn't allowed to put weight through anything because I was so broken. So I
yeah.
didn't know at that point that I couldn't stand up anymore. Or I couldn't walk anymore with forearm crutches. So that was all to come in therapy. And
Mm-hmm.
then you realize, oh my gosh, I can't feel that now where I used to feel, and I can't move that now where I used to be able to move that. And but everything for a reason. Do everything for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I wasn't able to walk my daughter down the aisle. But what did happen, which was special, 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 is my oldest son, who's 25. He walked her down the aisle and walked her to me, and
Oh,
he handed her off to me, bro.
oh,
And, and
fabulous.
he and I just had a moment, and I twirled her around, and it was just she and I.
Yeah.
And then when we were ready, I passed her off to her husband, who I absolutely love. And so without the second accident, it doesn't go out like that. Maybe I trip her, maybe she goes into the pond, or
Right.
you
Right.
know, who knows what happens. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it happened, and it was beautiful. It was
Mm,
absolutely beautiful, and wouldn't take it back. And here's another thing too: if God were to come through that door right now and say, "Yo, listen, with Jason watching, I'll heal you, I'll give you everything, but all the relationships and all you've learned over the past 16 years, I got to
mm,
take that." That's easy. That's no brainer, man. That's easy. No,
really.
I'm staying in the chair.
But- And it's truly amazing how these it's just dominoes. It really it's just dominoes and
Yeah.
dominoes. And it's getting to the end of the dominoes and not having any regrets, and that's truly how I feel about that. And taking what you got in front of you and making the best of it. You weren't able to walk your daughter down the aisle, but you got to be at the end of the aisle when she got there, and you
Amen.
got to participate.
Amen.
And I'm sure that meant just as much to her then, based on the fact of what you had been through. You know,
Hey, can you imagine?
yeah,
Just not having dad, dude. Wow, you're gonna
yeah,
make me cry. Stop it. Uh, yeah, it's getting hot, and my eyes are gonna sweat, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine missing something like that?
No,
So, yeah, it's a gift, and every breath I take is a gift, and I know this.
yeah,
And in that second accident, I wouldn't say it was a near death experience. I didn't see anything. I felt some things,
yeah.
and I got complacent. I was working at the hospital, teaching anatomy over at the university, and I was not reaching my full potential. I was not doing what I was put on this earth to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it, you call it whatever you want to call it, but
Yeah.
whatever that was, shook me and said, "You are not getting her done. You got to get her done." And
Nice.
thank the Lord gave me another shot at it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Speaking of that, what are you up to now? What does Matt Blanchard consume his days with?
So I've got this new brand, I Inspire,
Mhm.
and I'm a public speaker. So I go everywhere from universities all the way down to elementary schools,
Okay.
and we talk about, like, in elementary schools we talk about seatbelt safety, and
Mhm.
we you know, and up at the university level we talk about drug addiction and surround yourself with people who give you an opportunity to be successful, and accountability, and stop blaming, and I mean, and everywhere in between, because a principle is a principle, doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you say or do.
Yeah.
I've been given the gift of paralysis that has allowed me to tell a story to get people emotionally involved, and then I attach a principle to it, and
Mm.
boy, that a principle flat sticks.
Yes. Yes.
So I do that. I still teach anatomy over at Dixie State University, and then I am a mentor over at the hospital now. So if a trauma one, or any type of spinal cord injury, or anyone who suffers any type of deficit comes in, they'll bring me in and be like, hey, I do everything, Jace. I snow ski, I wakeboard or wake surf, I jump off of cliffs. I live.
Weren't you going to compete against Trevor in bowling?
Oh, bro, I will work, Trevor. In fact, we haven't played yet. I'm just gonna tell a little fib right here, but I hope that Trevor's watching or listening. But I
Right.
am gonna work Trevor in bowling. Okay, I'm telling you right now, I am gonna work him.
That's because I think you just did a post the other day on Instagram on bowling, and when I
Yeah,
saw that, I'm like, I wonder if he ever got around to playing Trevor in bowling.
I haven't yet, but it's coming. See, because he saw that post too, and I'm
Yeah.
like, Trev, see, and he won't even respond. Yeah, he doesn't
Uh,
want this smoke, man. He
you
doesn't
don't want
want
none
any
of
of this.
that. That's great. Now you have a foundation too, right?
Oh yeah. So my foundation, it's a nonprofit called Today's First Step.
Mm-hmm.
And what that foundation does is provides trips, or let's say you need a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Well, my foundation will provide a wheelchair for you, or hand controls on a vehicle, or from anything in between. Because today's first step looks different for Jace than it does for Matt. So
Yeah.
whatever your first step is today, whether that is literally rolling over to the other side, or because there were times, man, where I couldn't roll over, like
Mm,
like physically couldn't roll over,
right.
mentally couldn't roll over,
Right.
in a very dark place. So whatever today's first step looks like for each individual, that's what my foundation does. It provides hope to hopeless situations.
That's awesome.
So
Fantastic. I think I could sit here and talk to you for about an hour and a half, but I want to be I want to be mindful of your time because it's getting close to the end of the day there in Utah. But yeah, this is just truly inspiring. You provide a message of hope, like you said, and overcoming some extreme odds. And that's why I wanted to have you on the show. So I really appreciate you joining me here today. What's the best way for people to connect with you?
oh yeah, if you can reach out to me on my Instagram, it's Matty Blanch 3 on my IG, or email me at mattyblanch3@gmail.com.
Okay.
And then get a hold of me, and I travel the nation speaking.
Hmm.
Love doing it. I promise you, you'll get tools immediately that you can implement immediately that will change your life today.
That's
So
phenomenal.
yeah,
Matt, thank you again. Truly an amazing story. Everything I expected and then some. But I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking with me today.
thanks, brother. I thank you. I appreciate more than you know.
Absolutely. All right, guys. With that, I hope that everybody enjoyed this. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Reach out to Matt if there's anything he can help you with. I'd be happy to put you in connection with Matt if you can't seem to find him on IG. But with that, everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a good day.
Thanks, Jace.